up with our motto, let learning be a joy and teaching a pleasure. Here we are with a remote teaching and learning process to bridge the gap. Happy learning, students.
Good morning, dear students. Today we'll take Unit 2, poem number 2.1, Invictus, by William Ernest Henley. The meaning of the title of the poem, Invictus, means one who cannot be conquered, or you can say unconquerable. Let us first get to know something about the poet. William Ernest Henley, in the period of 23 August 1849 to 11th July 1903, was an influential English poet, critic, and editor of the late Victorian era in England. Though he wrote several books of poetry, Henley is remembered most often for his 1875 poem. And you know, students, which poem it is? Yes, it is this very poem that we are going to learn today, and it is Invictus, a piece which recurs in popular awareness. Now, before we begin with this poem, let us take up a small exercise. Students, imagine you are faced with a serious problem or a grave danger. Grave means serious. What do you do in such a situation? What are your feelings? Do you panic? Do you feel helpless? Is there calmness and composure? Do you have the willingness to tackle it? Tackle means to deal with it. What are your reactions? First of all, do you pray to God to save you from this problem? Do you ask someone for help? Maybe your parents or your elder brother or sister. Do you build up courage to overcome that problem and take it as a challenge? First, let us go to the summary and you may probably get your answer. The poet suffered a tubercular infection that resulted in the amputation of a leg below his knee. Because of the infection, the part of his leg below the knee had to be amputated. Amputated means it had to be cut off. This powerful poem was written shortly after this tragic incident. It is all about showing courage in the face of death and the will to survive with dignity. What is the meaning of dignity? Self-respect amidst severe hardships. Whatever hardships you may come across, you should have your dignity. You should show your self-respect and not bow down to it. Now, we will read the first and the second stanzas of the poem. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance. I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Let us see what the poet is trying to say in these two stanzas. He says that the hardships that surround him are as black as the center of the earth. So here he says the pit. And he also uses the word night, which refers to sorrow. He thanks God for his unconquerable soul. The poet further says that though he is a victim of wicked circumstances, so if you can look in the stanza, it's written fell clutch, means it's wicked, cruel circumstances, cruel situations. He has not cried aloud of pain at all, though he is suffering under the violent beatings of fate. Here the word which is used is bludgeonings. The violent beatings of fate. His head is bloody, means full of blood, but he is not going to bow his head. But to bow one's head is to accept some injustice which he faces. But here the poet says that he is not going to bow his head. Let us look into the meanings of the difficult words in these two stanzas. The first one, pit. The meaning is a large, deep hole in the ground. Second, unconquerable, and it means that can't be defeated. In fact, the name of our poem is Invictus, means unconquerable, that can't be defeated. The third word, fell clutch. Fell clutch means a wicked trap, a cruel trap. Many a times people lay a trap for others to fall into it. A cruel trap. The next word, bludgeonings, means violent beatings with a heavy stick or a club. A heavy stick with a strong hold and some violent beatings. So here the poet suffers with these violent beatings. And the next word, winced. And the meaning of winced is to express pain, to show some sorrow, to mourn. Now let us read the third and the fourth stanzas. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Let us see what the poet is trying to say in these two stanzas. The poet says, the world is full of anger. Here the meaning of wrath is anger. The world is full of anger and sadness. There is always dark uncertainty which looms over him. Looms means hangs overhead. But as the years pass by, with the passage of time, he won't be afraid. His experience will teach him not to be afraid. He further says, it doesn't matter how straight the gate is. Here the meaning of straight, and if you can look at the spelling, it is Strait. Here the meaning of straight is narrow. It doesn't matter how straight the gate is, that is how narrow the gate is. And how many punishments he might get with the scroll. Here the scroll is the roll of paper. In the olden days, people used to have the scroll. Whenever a punishment was announced, there would be a scroll which would be rolled out. And then the last two lines of the poem are beautifully mentioned here. The poet says, I am the master of my fate. Whatever I do, I will be responsible for it. I won't blame anyone for it. I will be responsible for whatever my destiny is. Whatever is in fate for me, I will be responsible for it, as I am the captain of my soul. The poet stresses that he alone is responsible for his actions, and though he has been battered, though he has been troubled by destiny, he has not been conquered. So, let us look into the meanings of these two, the difficult words from these two stanzas. First word, wrath, means anger. This word has a silent W. Second word, looms, means hangs overhead. Third, menace, and the meaning is a threat or a danger. The next word, straight, and here it means narrow. And the last word which is given over here is fate, and it is the destiny. So if you look into the poetic devices and if you look into the stanzas, all the four stanzas of this poem has the rhyme scheme AB, AB. Now let us look into the figures of speech for some of the lines of the poem. The figures of speech. The first line, black as a pit from pole to pole. So let us find out what is the figure of speech used over here. The first figure of speech is alliteration. The sound of the letter P is repeated. Pit and pole. The sound of the letter P is repeated for a better poetic effect. Students, can you see any other figure of speech in the same line? Yes, very good. The word pole is repeated. In the same line, the word pole is repeated, and therefore the figure of speech is repetition. The next line, in the fell clutch of circumstance. The figure of speech over here is personification. What is personification? Yes, a non-living object is personified. An abstract idea is personified. Personified means it is given a human quality. Let us see here. Here, circumstance is personified, and it is said to be clutching or holding wickedly. The word circumstance is personified and it is said to be holding or clutching wickedly. The next line in these stanzas, let us see. Okay. I will be giving you certain lines and you will be finding the figures of speech of the those following lines. Now, as you can see, below are some examples of great warriors. And I know, students, you can recognize them easily. Yes? The first one is the king of Maharashtra, who had ruled, who had fought the Mughals. Can you guess? Yes, it is Shivaji Maharaj. He was called as Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And the second and the third pictures, they are of Alexander the Great. These were unconquerable warriors. They fought against injustice. They did not bow their heads to the injustice. So, we conclude here in this poem as to what the poet has got to say. What is the underlying message the poet wants to convey to us? The poet William Henley says that we should not get afraid of anything in life if we aren't guilty. One should not bow down before injustice, but be responsible for what you do. Be independent and do not blame others for what wrong you have achieved. Take, for example, the difficult situation of this coronavirus pandemic we are facing. Here, we should not panic, but face it fearlessly and calmly. I know it is very easy to say it, but the one who experiences it has a different story to say. But we should learn to live with it. If you remember what we have learned in the warming up exercise, we need to trust in God and ourselves, and the rest will take care of itself. Another example, you all are students of Standard 9th, and this is one of the most important here in the academics. Remember, students, however difficult the concepts in studies may be, let nothing defeat you. And in true sense, you can say, as the poet said in the last two lines of the poem, children, those lines are lovely, wonderful lines. We learn a lot from them. And what are those two lines? I am the master of my fate, F-A-T-E, fate, destiny. I am the captain of my soul. Captain of my soul means I will do whatever is good for me. With this, we come to the end of the poem. Students, I hope you have understood it. Go through the poem once again. Go through the meanings. Jot down the figures of speech in your notebooks. Thank you.